Okay, so let's start the refactoring. So we have the customer class, which has the customer name and a list of rentals. And the first thing we're going to do is look at this method, the statement method. And as you know, as you have seen already, it actually has different responsibilities, different concerns. So here is to compute the value, to pay the price. Here is to compute the renter points. This is just to print the final statement. So it's no cohesive. Another thing that we can observe is that they have some comments. And usually when you find comments in this kind of code, it means that probably the code is not readable or is to help you to read. And one of the reasons because it's to help you to read is because it doesn't have good quality from the design point of view. So when you read here, determine amounts for each line, well, it means that what they are saying is that, well, this is a non-cohesive method, and this part has a particular responsibility. So our first step in the refactoring is to extract this as a method. So by extracting it, we basically, so I'm going to use the IntelliJ. I can now go to Refactor and extract method. Okay, and let's call it get amount. Okay, it suggests this name, and I refactor it. Okay, look that now. In some point, I'm by removing part of the responsibility, I'm making it more cohesive. But still, we'll need to do further in it. But let's look at what was the result here. The first thing I don't like is the static method. So static methods are not in very few situations we need static methods in object orientation. So let's change it to a method. Then you receive the amount and it returns the value, and then it's replaced these two. So the first thing to see if it works is just basically we run the tests. Okay, so we go there and I run the test to see if everything is okay. Okay, it passed. So I have the result. So it was a good refactoring. Now another thing that I can think about is this is the customer class. And this method actually is to calculate the value for a particular rental. So I would say that this is closer in terms of the semantics of the method is closer to the rental class, which if you look at the rental class is just getters and setters, so it's more like a data structure than an object. So the next step is basically to move this method there. So as usual, when I do refactorings, I just delete the code at the end. So I copy this code, and from here, I basically go to the rental and I put it there. Of course, now I don't need to have rental there because I'm in the rental class itself. Okay. And again, I don't need this. I don't need this, but look that the ID is very nice to help me on this replace. Okay, now I have the method there. Well, I can remove this because that information is not relevant anymore. I just get amount for a rental. It makes sense, so it's a good name. And then I go to the customer, and now when I invoke this here, maybe I can just say rental dot get amount. Okay. Why I have this problem is because it should be public here. And now I can just delete this. And I can run the tests. and they pass. Okay, so that's nice. I just move it. I just moved the method there. So let's come back to this method, the statement method, and we'll see that probably we can have a similar reasoning about frequent points. So having the frequent points, basically, it's not a good idea to have it here because look, they basically is the different thing. Okay, so let's pick this, and I say to refactor extract method and get frequent renter points. Okay, it's a good name. So it's the same situation. It's static. So if now it's add bonus, I don't need to have this message anymore. Okay, I just can do this way, and I have it there. Okay, so it receives the frequent points there. Probably I can improve it a little bit because it increments the value of the render point. So I remove it from there. I remove it from there, and I declare. So a nice way is to declare int result, and result. Okay, and I have a problem here. Let me just check. Okay, so I have to initialize the result. Okay, and now I can just run the test again. They failed, so let's see what's happening here. Well, actually, I don't need to initialize it. So basically, if in this case it's 2, and in this case it's 1. So return 2 and return 1. Let's run the tests, and it passed. Okay, now I can do the same. I can move it because this is more related with from the semantically is more related to rental. So I can move it to rental. So let's copy it there first and make it public. Remove it here because now we are in the class itself, and here, and then we can return here, and in this point I can do rental dot. I invoke the method. Look, this is not working anymore. It's not accessed, and I can do execute. Okay, so we changed quite a bit, right? So let's go to the another step. Okay, now if you well first I can remove this comment because now it's the name of the method. So another thing that we can observe is this variable. So this amount is used to generate the string, so the statement, and it's used to calculate the total value. So in some way, this variable is about two different responsibilities. So it's used related to two different responsibilities. That way, I cannot separate these two responsibilities because in some way they are binded, or they are coupled by this variable. So what I'm going to do is to replace it here and it there. Okay, so now it's not used. I can run the tests, okay, and the tests pass. So, and I can remove this. What you may ask is, well, now it's less efficient because I invoke it twice, right? Yes, but there's a rule that we try to avoid to do optimizations at the beginning. So at the beginning, you try to have a good code, then you do profiling, and then you optimize afterwards. Because experience tells you that probably if you have a code with good structure, and if you to optimize afterward by profiling, so by identify what are the really bottlenecks, we only need to optimize 1% of the code. So probably this 1% is not so readable. It's not doesn't have such a nice structure, but it's only 1%. If you start optimizing from the beginning, you don't even realize what is better to optimize, and then you basically get the ugly code everywhere, and probably you don't even solve the optimization problem. So following this idea, now I can see that, look, this loop is doing three different things. Okay, so this loop has very low cohesion. Okay, because it is doing for the rental points, the total amount, and print. So what I'm gonna do? Well, I'm gonna replace these by three different loops. So I copy this one here, put it there, and sorry for, okay, and what I'm gonna do first is for total amount, so let's put it, oh sorry, I'm gonna not doing this way, sorry, public, let's make it private double get total amount, and I do the loop inside. Okay, and now I can get this variable. Well, actually I can remove it from there, put the result double result equal to 0 here, double, and this is relevant for us. So what do I have here? Result equal to, and then I return result. Okay, by doing this, I can replace these two. I can replace it here, and I can remove it from there. Okay, so let's see, and it passed. Okay, so I have now this method. Look, that now it's again the same thing about performance. The performance is worse, but the code is more readable, and I can do the same for a very similar loop for the frequent points. So get frequent parameter points and result, and in this case what I'm gonna do is just this, copy, actually I am B and B, and I can basically remove this. I can remove this. I don't need this comment anymore because basically it's readable, and here I need to invoke this method. Let's see if it works. and run the tests. It failed. Let's see what's happening here. Okay, so the problem is that actually this returns a double. Problems related with the copy and paste, and this is the double, and then I can just run it, and the tests pass. Good. So what have I done? Look, now I have something much better code. So I have a method that is about statement. Basically, just when I look at this method, what I'm reading is code about statement. Then I have this method that is basically about the total amount, and I have this method that is basically about the computation of the render points. So the code is much cleaner, of course, less performant, and but there are still one or two steps to do in this phase. So let's go. So what I'm going to observe here now is that, so I have this rental, and look, in this get amount, if I look at it, we see that this depends on actually the type of movie. So probably the only information it uses is actually the days rented. But what is relevant is that this is actually, so the semantics depends on the type of movie. So probably this method is better in the movie class. So let's move it there. So I'm gonna do it again. Get movie. I come here. Copy. Of course, now this days rented is missing. So let's put int days rented, because I need to receive it. So let's do replace it here. Replace it there. Replace it. Sorry. Okay. Replace it there. Replace it there. And replace it there. And again, I don't need the get movie anymore because the price code is here, right? It's part of this class. And so it's not invoked yet. So I need to go to the rental class and replace this by, so return, so it is movie dot get amount these dot days rented. Okay, we can do this. Let's see if it works. Expected, so something is missing there. And let's run the test. It's okay. The 6 tests passed. So, and the same applies to this to this method. So basically what I can do similarly, and I can move it here, v, and of course I need the days rented. So like here, int days rented, I need the days rented here. I don't need the get movie because I'm already in the movie, and I have days rented here. Days rented. Okay, and I go back to the rental class, and I'm gonna replace this by return movie dot days rented. So the guy is particularly smart. Just suggest me what is relevant. I ran the tests, and that's it. So now I have a nicer structure. So this class is pretty nice now. Okay, so good cohesion. Of course, there are some points that I'm gonna address in the next video. This is okay, and this as well. Of course, I will assess this aspect in another video as well. Okay, that's it for that part.